Winning the lottery. It is a dream of millions in multiple countries as a way to secure their financial independence, make their dreams come true, and be financially secure. And the fact is that we know it's probably not going to happen for you. You have a better chance of being drafted into a professional football team than you do to win the lottery. And the sad truth is that the majority of people who win lotteries, whether it's the big Mega Millions, Powerball, or whether it's those smaller sums along the way, they don't change people's lives and honestly leave them worse off than before they got the money. Not everyone, but some. But the dream of what would I do if I won the lottery, I love this as a thought experiment and a gut check for you on how you deal in your relationship with money. So today, let's play around with this, and I'll tell you kind of what my plan would be if I won the lottery. So the first thing is I've heard a statistic that something like 70% of lottery winners end up declaring bankruptcy. I was doing some research earlier, and that's not true, but I've also heard 30%, and that's not really true either. But studies have shown that lottery winners, even if it's those smaller amounts, $30,000, $50,000, they tend to become more financially stable for a little while, and then their chances of running into bankruptcy increase dramatically later on. And while I'm going to keep using the term lottery here, this also includes inheritances, other financial windfalls like that. See, your relationship with money is something you have to grow into. But people who have a healthy relationship and understand the game of money can use it to build security and build generational wealth. And that's what we talk about on this channel: saving, investing, budgeting, and building that life of abundance of investing for the future and learning how your relationship with money actually works. And that's why I like this idea so much. The fact of the matter is if I was the lottery and I came to you and I said, congratulations, you just won $10 million, $100 million. This is life-changing amounts of money, but what would you do if you won? If your answer immediately goes to, I'd buy a house in LA, I'd have a condo in New York, I'd buy a villa in Tuscany, I'd own a Ferrari and an Aston Martin, and I would, oh my gosh, I could get a yacht and I could charter private airplanes and take all my friends around the world to party, you're not going to have your money for very much longer. The fact of the matter is that most lottery winners make very, very basic mistakes, and that is to let other people know they won, not consult with advisors, and not recognize the fact that they're going to be absolutely swamped with requests for money. Some of that will be from legitimate charitable organizations that want some help. Some of it will be your friends and family who come out of the woodwork and lay guilt trips on you that if you could just help them a little bit, they feel entitled to the money. And if you start to give in, it's very hard to stop, and you can waste it all. And many of these friends and families would have business opportunities that are never going to return anything for you. But people who have a poor or middle class mindset, they see the rich as they invest in businesses, they invest in real estate. So if you now have money, that's what you would do, right? Oh, I'm going to go invest in this commercial building and some residential, and my cousin Bob's got a good idea, I think, for a business. I'm going to invest in that too, and I'm going to be the next Apple, and then you lose it all. So what I would do is very simple. I've thought a lot about this. This is one of the fun things I do while I'm out driving, and luckily over my life I've educated myself through books and other channels like this on my relationship with money, and I'm very comfortable. I'm very comfortable with my relationship, that my car, my money, my lifestyle, my vacations do not define me, and I don't feel the need to justify myself on social media. So if I won the lottery, I would do, first, contact 3 different advisors. My financial advisor, to let him know there's a chunk of money coming my way, my tax advisor, and my estate attorney on how to structure things to protect those investments. You'll notice I said there I would contact, not find. I already have those advisors in place. There's many, many resources out there where people talk about you don't have to be the expert on anything. You just have to hire the experts. And that's what other business people do. That's other wealthy people do, is they don't try to master every single thing. They know enough to ask intelligent questions, but they rely on the advice of advisors. I read an interview with one lottery winner, and he put together not only his financial, his tax, and an attorney advisors, but he also got I don't remember the term, a health coach, a brain coach, basically, to make sure that he didn't start making stupid decisions, and he stayed the same person. And he would not make a large purchase without consulting with all four of them. If you haven't already, if you're growing, if you're investing, if you're starting to build for the future and build that sense of abundance, you need your financial team in place. You need your advisory team in place. But once I contacted them, I kind of have a rough layout of what I would do with the money. The first thing is we would pay off our debt. Now, we don't have much. We have our house, pay that off. We have 2 cars that have small loans on them. We just go ahead and pay those off. I think we've got a little bit of money on one of the credit cards, pay that off. That's it. After that, I think you do have to have a little bit of fun, but you've got to be reasonable about it. And it can't be a never-ending stream, right? A never-ending stream of parties and vacation. I would set aside some money for a really wonderful European vacation. I've always wanted to go to Italy and really spend some time there. I'd like to see, the countryside of France. I'd love to go up to Great Britain, and my family and my wife's family are both from Scotland. Love to head up into the Highlands, and honestly, her family has a castle, so we could go visit that. So I'd like to take, 6 weeks, 2 months, and go travel. Do that. I'd like to get a new car. I probably would give one of my cars to one of my sons. I'd get a car for myself, and I really struggle with this. Part of me says just get a Honda Accord. It's perfect. It's reliable. It's very fuel efficient. I might stretch and get maybe a Lexus. But you notice I'm focused on reliability and value there. I'm not getting the Aston Martin. I'm not getting the Ferrari. I'm getting something that would be my daily driver. My wife would probably get another car in the future, but that's not really her thing. So we'd pay off debt, we'd buy a few things, we'd have some improvements we would do around the house, and we would start setting everything up so that it's invested for the future and can throw off some cash flow. That's important because we're not going to focus on spending the lottery winnings. We're going to live off cash flow from it. So after we spent that, the fact of the matter is I don't think we'd have any big expenses. We would, as I describe it, get used to having the money. Get used to the fact that it's not changing who I am, it's not changing the world, it's just there. And I don't want it to affect my relationships with my friends, with my family, in some cases with my coworkers. I don't want it to change who I am. And that's a big myth about money. Money doesn't change you. Money makes you more of whatever you really are. There's a lot of really mean, nasty, vindictive, greedy, shallow people out there, but they can't act on it because they're trapped by their financial situation. Give them a ton of money and it comes out. And that's what you see in a lot of these reality shows, in my opinion. But people who grow into their money, they have to change who they are to keep the money. And that's what I would do, is set the money there and kind of get used to it. Drive the same car, live in the same place, and just get used to it being out there and not spending it. Now, we have some other big things we'd like to do down the road. We'd like to buy some land, build a house on it, really establish something here in this area for the family as a touchstone, is how I think about it. I love cars. This house, I would like to build a metal building behind it and buy a bunch of old cars to put in it. Cool things, an old VW Beetle and things like that I'd like to put in it. There's things like that I'd want to do, but maybe I'd get the Porsche 911. Maybe I'd get a Jaguar, but I'd have to have a Honda for when the Jaguar actually breaks, right? There's some things like that you've got the money, have fun with it. And maybe we do take vacations a couple times a year, but we'd be doing it off the cash flow from our investments made in conjunction with that financial advisor. So that would be the basic plan. Pay off debt, don't change the lifestyle, improve the house a little bit just because it's a little out of date in some places, and then get used to having the money. Make sure that we don't become something we're not comfortable with. Now, a little bit deeper than that is we would set up 4 trusts at least, probably a 5th one as well. 4 trusts, one for each of the boys, where we would self-fund it with a little bit of money and then make them eligible for it at age 35. We don't want them to get the money until they actually grow a little bit, experience some life, and establish themselves in a career where they can support themselves. The 5th one would be, honestly, I'm going to say for our church, but it's for charity. Our church is very good at funding charities out there, and I like the idea of funding it to them, but not as a lump sum, something where it's over here, it can be controlled, and they're getting a steady stream of income that they can rely on from it. Again, there'd be more advisors that would be involved in whether that makes sense, or it could be structured a little bit differently. And then, of course, working with the estate attorney to lock everything down so that we know where the money is, how it's going to be distributed on our untimely deaths, and that it's protected as much as possible. Yes, there would be that temptation that, gosh, I would like to have a place in LA so that I can hop on a jet and fly over there. And yes, I've always dreamed of that villa in Tuscany. But depending on the level of money, that may not make sense. The fact of the matter is if you won about $10 million, you'd probably only bring home about $5 million, less than that in a lump sum. You're talking about a lot of money you could live off of, but not splurge. Now, if you're talking about winning the Powerball and you won $500 million, the fact of the matter is you could afford a couple of different houses and a private jet and a yacht and luxury cars and all this other. But the key thing is to live off the cash flow from those investments, not spend the principal. I have another video where I talk about unlimited cash flow, endless cash flow that can grow and turn into legacy levels of wealth. And it's that 4% rule you may or may not have heard of. And the 4% rule generally says that if you have a sum of money in investments, that you can take about 4% out, and over time that investment will stay at least steady, maybe continue to grow as well. So to me, whatever I have invested, if I take 4% out, and right now the stock market is doing very well, other years it doesn't do as well, but if I take 4% out, I can do the math very easily on how much I have to live on. If I have $1 million in investments, I can take out $40,000 a year. That's nice. That's not great. That's not life-changing money. It might be for you. But at $10 million, you're talking about $400,000. Oh, now you're talking about some pretty good money, but you've got to pay taxes on it, and all of a sudden that's, $200,000, whatever that number happens to be, depending on the state you happen to live in. The fact of the matter is if you had 10 million and you're taking out 4%, 400,000 is nice. Take out some taxes. Well, you're living a really nice upper middle class lifestyle, and that's it. That's not yachts and Ferraris and world travel for 11 months out of the year. You have to really get up to the 100 million and beyond, and when you start talking about that. So what would you do if you won the lottery? Again, are you going to waste it and blow it on parties and drugs and cars and houses, and all of a sudden you end up bankrupt, owing more than you ever earned in your entire life? Or do you use it smart? Do you splurge a little bit to reward yourself, to give yourself that good feeling, and then use your advisors to get it in a position to take care of you and your family for generations? That's what I would do. Let me know any questions below, guys. I hope you like this.